What's good? We back in another episode of Unsolicited Views.
Yo!
Oh man, Mel's back in the building.
We got a guest. Time.
Wedding Poppy.
We got a regular guest.
I probably won't be here a lot. To be honest, in the next
we was just
months.
talking about that.
Jet set.
You leaving us hanging.
Wedding man Poppy.
After August, I'll be back, yo.
All right.
It's hot boy summer.
This nigga lying.
It's your last hot boy summer.
All right, yo. After October.
I think Mel's hot boy. I think Mel haven't been a hot boy for a long time.
I mean, hot boy don't mean you gotta be single.
That's
you
true.
You could be hot and go home to your partner.
So I'm a hot boy.
You couldn't be. I don't think.
Nah, you got titties.
Damn! Why?
You got titties, nigga.
You got.
Mo, you want to talk about my titties?
I've been had titties.
He said, I was born with these.
Your titties new. I was born with titties.
Let me get myself right.
You got new titties.
New titties.
Like, get a muscle shirt, yo, for just for the day. Where did that come from? Or was that not a muscle shirt? It just happened to
It was
turn
muscle
into
shirt.
one.
I bought it in it's slim fit. It's slim fit.
Slim fit. Oh yeah.
Yeah. I didn't feel like ironing no clothes.
Slim fit C.
No, that's all good.
A slim fit C cup.
I'm getting a little.
What was that, yo?
Don't worry about it. All right, come on. Let's start.
Flex? I'm glad that's on camera. That was terrible.
Niggas ain't seen no
So, man,
vein, no muscle.
I'm gonna play the. So, where you been, Mel?
I've been out. I went to a wedding last week.
He's on PTO.
Yeah.
This nigga. You starting to get Palmer PTO.
No, don't put me on that level. Don't put me on that level.
I mean, the
Palmer
next 2
PTO.
months might give Palmer-ish.
Yeah.
Oh god.
You might be on Palmer levels, yo.
Yeah.
But you gonna be back.
Shout out to Palmer. I just saw him in person again. Yeah.
Aw.
Every time I see him in person, I talk about him on the
just
pod.
lit up.
Little romance.
Oh no, we have something to talk about. We have a
He
bond
just
now.
lit up.
You start glowing when you talk.
You want to
about
go
it.
sit next to him, rub his thigh?
Did your knee get better?
He was my favorite. One of the,
I thought you got a tingle in your knee.
Nah.
Wait, is that what his knee got? He's saying Palmer. Next thing you know, his meniscus.
Yeah. He got
what I will
jagged.
say about being disabled is they need to work on the accommodations of a lot of these places being disabled individuals like myself right now.
Yeah.
So like I couldn't even find a parking spot at a couple places. I don't got the tag, but still, they still should be have something.
How they gonna know, yeah?
And then I went to the food line. They ain't have the cart. It wasn't charged up. And I went to Target. It wasn't charged up.
Damn.
And why these shits ain't charged up?
You about to be a young
You
ass.
better call ahead, yo.
Yeah, like I'm like, yo.
better make a
So sure,
reservation for that shit.
I oughta. And the funny thing is, the funniest shit is me with crutches in there with a pregnant woman. They like, God damn.
Y'all need 2 cars.
I know I need 2 of them, yo.
But that's like with all the scooters and bikes and stuff in cities. I hate that people leave them laying on the sidewalk because you think about somebody in a wheelchair, they can't just roll over that ish. They gotta either try to move it or they gotta hop on.
You're such a humanitarian.
Well, yeah, so
I never thought of that.
But what if they got heavy duty?
He like, fuck that. It's horrible, yeah.
Every time I see them laying across the sidewalk, I try to move them out the way. Yeah.
They might have heavy duty tires, yeah.
No, stop it. They shouldn't have to roll over.
Off-road wheelchair tires.
No, they should not have to do that.
With the 8-inch.
So I try to move
rims?
them out the way so that
So we want to
have access.
I did want to say shout out to all our listeners, viewers, subscribers. We've been slow on a lot of different things, so we try and get our weight back up. We've been really busy. Like, I have a baby on the way. Mel's getting married. Maul's just
working.
It's summertime.
Working. We just gonna stick with that.
Yeah.
So it's been busy. So like we gonna get back to it. I'm about to have a lot of order in my life soon. So trying to get all my disorganization out of my system.
You gonna have a whole schedule?
It's gonna get worse.
Like with color coding and everything.
Oh no, I
might be a fan of this.
I have a list now. Like I have a checklist. So I can't before I got here.
Checklist
do you check it twice?
Let's go.
Yeah, I check. Like you see the thank you cards, how efficient they got to you.
I
didn't do them. My job was delivering them, but those would have waited on the counter for 2 months. The old me, the new me, the dad me. Shit, I don't let that shit go under.
I give you.
I want to see these
like
changes.
6 months before you go backwards.
All right.
I want to know what the checklist is.
All right, well, I don't got my phone in my hand, but yeah, it's a checklist. All the different things I got to do. You guys on my checklist.
Oh.
Wait,
hold on. Take me off, yo. I
don't want you to do nothing with me, bro.
Nah.
You gotta take care of
There's friendly things.
Scratch my name out, B.
He got scratch your back.
But did y'all say what's going on in y'all life? Anything new before I introduce our guest?
I don't have anything. Y'all know what's going on. Been getting married for 3 years.
How you feel about that, though?
Huh?
How you feel about getting married? You feel you nervous?
Nah.
Not at this point.
I was nervous last year.
Oh shit! You had a whole year to think about it.
And I was like,
you don't think you'll get nervous like a couple?
I probably will.
Before?
I think the day of. That's probably when. I think the day of is probably when I'll be like, oh shit.
You gonna cry?
You gonna have an extra handkerchief?
I'm definitely gonna cry because I'm a crier.
Yeah.
And I hate my crying.
Did you know that about him? Greg? He's a crier.
No, I didn't know that.
You won't see it any other time. It's only with her.
Oh, that's sweet.
We should put that clip of him proposing right here.
Don't y'all do that.
But no, marriage is a beautiful thing. I'm a fan of marriage. I like marriage.
That's what's up, y'all. I'm happy for y'all.
Yeah, you've been married forever, even though you weren't.
18, 19, 20, 3 years. Coming up on 3 years this year.
That's officially. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, I want my years.
You went.
I want I should be like 12 years in now.
So when people ask how long you've been together, do you mention just the marriage years?
Oh no, hell no! I give him all those years. Those was a lot of years, yo.
He one of them persons. You mad that you asked him that kind of question because he just go on and on.
Right.
Well, you see, we started back in high school, then we broke up,
we
and I started wearing orange, and then she found me and
wearing orange.
You got the story down. But nah, I love my baby though. We about to have a baby.
Oh, I love my baby.
My baby's having a baby.
It's very important.
You starting off real lovey-dovey today.
Yo.
Yeah, I've been softening up, man.
I think it's because the shirt's tight, yo. It's like restricting blood.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
That's why. That's all right. I ain't gonna say nothing. It was inappropriate. But no, I've been softening up. Like getting ready for the baby is it's been an experience. Like the room's painted, the car seat is in the car. It's like a earth tone because we don't know the sex.
Right. Yeah.
And we're gonna find out at birth. So
when do you think you'll cry? Do you think you'll cry as soon as she goes into labor, or when?
When the baby come out. I think when I see the head. The head's gonna do it for me.
See the crown?
Just the head,
just
not
the
the shoulders.
Just the head.
When it start crying.
Are you ready for that picture? I know you probably been studying this stuff all the time.
Nah, yeah, I got a book. So I got a book. I'm gonna hold my hand during the birth. So
you gonna hold a book during the birth?
Yeah, it's like some go-tos, like some hot topics.
Like you have Cliff Notes, yo?
Yeah, hell yeah.
You better study that the night before and put that book.
It's an open book test. An open book test. Did you ever go in there without the open book?
No, I went there with the answers.
Bruh. You not.
We always had that.
We always had the answers, nigga.
You know what's fucked up? You know what's fucked up about the open book test? Every time you went in with the open book, like you didn't study, so you couldn't find the shit fast enough anyway.
Again,
so
that's why you went in with the answers.
Open book actually gives you more anxiety.
Yeah.
Like,
you just flipping.
Like,
that is true. Close the shit.
If you never did the reading, you wouldn't know where you're going.
Exactly.
Anyway.
But if you had the test bank, you can't lose.
So we got a world-renowned therapist in here today, guys.
A world-renowned.
Yeah.
Let's hype him up. Let's hype him up. You gotta make sure you talk to the mic. I want to make sure everybody hear you.
I got you.
I want to make sure you get like 10 more clients off us, and we get a referral fee, $1,500, right?
Come on, that's how people might be.
That's what we talking about.
Yeah.
You about have a sprain elbow.
Payable to Baltimore Podcast Studio.
Yeah. Or just John. John.
No, don't do it, John.
But what's up, Greg? Talk about yourself. I want to first talk about what you do first and foremost.
Okay.
And then just give a little bit of background about yourself. I asked the hard questions.
All right, now I got you. So, like I said, I've been a licensed therapist for about a year now.
Okay.
I've been working in mental health for about most of my high school, college career. So I've been I worked in group homes. Man, I worked in hospitals. Man, I worked in psychiatric wards. I've worked in a lot of different places.
Really?
Prisons, yeah.
Wow.
So I've been around the block a little bit. I worked in schools. I worked with so many different mental health professionals.
Okay.
And I've been doing that so I can kind of figure out where I want to get my foot in. You know what I mean? Especially being young in the game, it's so much like to learn in this field. You know what I mean? So I just wanted as much experience as possible. And so, I mean, I'm not from Baltimore like y'all. I'm from Highland.
I feel you.
John ain't from Baltimore even.
Yeah, so.
Actually, I was born in Upland Apartments, by the way.
Oh my goodness.
So technically, I'm from Baltimore.
I know.
I like this guy.
So,
but go ahead.
But nah, so like I've been doing that for a little bit. I'm kind of moving up in my career now. So now I'm kind of I'm actually going to be a adjunct professor this fall at Bowie State University. So
hey, shout out to Bowie.
Shout out to
BSU.
Bowie.
Shout out to Bowie. So
HBCUs.
I've never heard Maul say that.
There you have.
BSU, my bad. I ain't cut you off. Go ahead. That sound crazy.
I say.
We say pump it up.
My man, Greg, yo, go ahead.
I don't know, they did say it when I was there, but like I ain't never do the chants and everything like that.
You're right.
We too cool.
I was like
for
a
that.
chill spirit.
Yeah.
I had the spirit, but I wasn't too like.
You ain't
had a spirit.
I probably got like one hoodie from Bowie. Honestly.
Oh wow, what?
So you was the man of Bowie?
Nah, I mean I was chill. Like I was just a chill guy.
Anybody else?
They the one who get all the women. It's okay.
I know everybody was chill. I wasn't chill.
He was chill.
So I know you was the man.
Nah, I was cooling. But nah, I mean, just moving up in the field now. I'll be independent licensed by next year. So
that's dope.
Yeah, so moving up and then that's it right now. Just kind of floating.
All right, so can we talk about these licenses first? The kind of enlightened people like me, ignorant people like me, who don't really understand the world of your world, basically.
My world, so, I mean, you got like a different. So most of us, when we come out of grad school, we're like graduate licenses. So for me, I'm an LGPC, so I'm a licensed graduate.
I thought you were about to say something else.
Counselor, right?
He said, so, Alphabet Mafia? Oh, my bad. We ran them, yo. My bad, yo.
So, like, how I go is, like, basically in different states, you got different requirements. So, different amount of years you got to do. So, for me in Maryland, I got to do 2 years, about 3,000 hours before I can get my clinical license.
Okay.
So that's licensed clinical professional counselor.
Yeah.
Then you got after that, you got all the S's and the C's, the I's. You got all this other stuff.
Yeah, I've always seen all these letters, and I'm like, I don't know what none of these mean.
Weeks ago.
Yeah.
She just passed her test.
Yeah, it's a lot of work.
So you got to do a little bit.
Yeah.
She's a social worker for adoptive kids.
Okay. Yeah, social workers, they got to take 2 tests. With me, I only got to take 1. I got to do hours, and I'm good. No, man.
Okay. So talk about your trajectory. What made you want to be a therapist?
Oh, yeah? I was just talking about this a while back. So, for me, it kind of started at an early age. Like I said, I went to a school in like a predominantly white area in Waldorf, Maryland.
I know how it is.
Yeah. The T. We back in the T.
Yeah.
The state of Waldorf.
He like this T, yo.
I like this guy.
That just caught me. But basically there, a lot of us, like the black community there was kind of small. So like we kind of stuck around. We knew a lot of issues that was going on, but we didn't really talk to people about it. And the school counselors, they were white. You know, when you go in there, you talk about implicit biases. Like they kind of had their own viewpoint of us already. So at that point, we was kind of like, why am I still going here? Who am I talking to? You didn't know about, I didn't really know about black therapists back then. I didn't know about black psychologists. I didn't know about the Association of Black Psychologists. I didn't know anything about that. Okay. So as I got further in my field and I started learning more, I was like, wow, this is something like, isn't talked about a lot. You know what I mean? How cool would it be that as I get older, I can like mentor young men and women and say, hey, look, you should look into this, or you need resources here. I have some ideas here. Like, it's so cool when I'm able to, even my little cousin, I got a little cousin who's studying psychology now. Smart young lady. She's about to graduate early, all that stuff. Whenever she need resources, something like that, I'm glad. It just feels good to be able to give her back.
Yeah, I think giving is the ultimate, joy in life. I feel you.
Yeah, so it was, it's just, as I came up, I was like, oh, wow. Now I'm working in group homes now. I'm working with, like, younger, like, black boys, black women. It just kept seeing, like, how much it was really needed for somebody that looks like you. Like, somebody that can represent something that come from, like, your same area, your complexion, everything like that, and make you feel more comfortable about saying, like, okay, this is what I'm dealing with today. Even if something chill, like, oh, I was at school, I got in a fight today. But, like, who wants to tell somebody that doesn't look like you that stuff, and they're not going to understand why you got in a fight? You know, maybe you're just hungry. Maybe you just didn't have the resources you need to get through the day, so you was frustrated. It led to that. Other than that, a white school counselor might be like, oh, what you can't do that, though.
I got you.
Yeah.
So, I guess, do you feel as though, I guess you want to give back. That's huge.
Yeah.
What part of therapy... So as a black man, therapy, of course, is a lot of times taboo. So what do you say to like black men that really haven't chose therapy? Because you talking about an alternative type of therapy today, not just traditional talk therapy, which a lot of black. That's all people usually think about when they think about therapy. It's traditional talk therapy.
Stuff,
But talk about that, the different alternatives of therapy, and then kind of what you feel black men's responsibility is to therapize himself. I made that word up.
I got you.
Therapize.
He used that word a few times.
You catching on?
I would say, well, with the black men talking to him about therapy, it's a little difficult, especially when I work with a lot of older men too. So with them, they're kind of stuck in their ways. So now I'm sitting here in session with a 50 or 60-year-old man, and he's working on how to just express himself to his grandchildren or his children. You know what I mean? And that's hard to tell somebody how to talk to. I'm young, me being young myself, how to explain to you how to talk to someone.
Especially an elder, yeah.
Yeah. And then, like you said, sometimes with older people, they have like these biases that's kind of ingrained in them. It's been 40 plus years. We're talking about like intolerable type of things, like with gender, like different genders, different sexual orientations. So like during conversation, they could be saying something, and they might laugh at it as a joke because it's something in their culture, like in their age group, it's something to laugh about. Let's say they're talking about people from the LGBTQ plus community, right? Make a joke about transsexuals or people who are might be gay or anything like that. Right. So they make a joke, and you try to explain to them how that looks.
It ain't funny, really.
Yeah, you try to explain to them, and they're kind of like, it kind of puts them off a little bit. So now they're
how does that? How often does that happen? Like they, I guess, fight back to you. Like when you correct them, they say something like incorrect in today's world, right? Yeah. And then they like, well, no, this is how it was. Like it shouldn't. Like how often does that happen? And how do you handle it?
Every session. So we deal with resistance like every day.
Yeah.
Every client that I have that's at a certain age, I mean, just with any client, there's always something they're resistant to, because in therapy, it's kind of give you an insight and look from a different point of view into the issues that you're dealing with.
Right.
And how many times do we really want to, and you can provide constructive criticism, but how many times do we receive that in a like in a well-placed area, right?
I was about to say that's I would say that's something we definitely. I know it's. That's it. Everybody said
COVID.
Yo.
No
Is that the COVID?
I swallowed my sangria.
You vaccinated?
Yeah.
So that Delta
You had a
strain.
Johnson & Johnson?
No.
So you can sit over
Yo,
there.
relax
I'm trying
on
to
my.
keep that confidence so bad.
Yo, stop putting my what's the name out there? Ain't that illegal?
Have we started coughing in the open market yet? I mean, just like
Open market.
it's hard to cough now. Like you used to be like when niggas cough, you staring at them like. Now y'all started cough again.
I still can't hold it in.
Oh, you still me too.
Yeah. I showed it.
You gotta try to play it off when y'all.
I've done that at work a couple times. And everybody like, you all right?
I got you clean your throat.
It's the worst when you can't catch it though. You can't catch it.
No,
That's worse.
it's like when you try to hold it in. Like he's like, know what? It's gone. It gotta come out.
Yeah, yeah. Fuck it.
So let me. I think the second.
Stop talking about my Johnson & Johnson, by the way.
You got to get over that. I actually lay a question. I was saying, like, far as black men, you know, in therapy, right? So there's a lot of things I think as black men we haven't healed from. What do you think, like, in your experience, like, what are some of the things that what can black men do to heal so we can, like, show up better in the world, you think?
I think talking more about it, honestly, and then not just talking to our friends and our family about it, just like our youth too, right? So if we are, as we get older, we're not getting younger, so we're getting older. Youth are coming up, they're paying attention.
Y'all not getting younger.
You got gray hairs.
I like he's shooting.
Benjamin Button around this motherfucker. It's like, no.
He wish.
Says the nigga with the Greg over the knees.
That's all right. Go ahead. See, we try to respect for our guests.
He can see we random, yo.
Yeah.
I'm dead.
He's trying to get back on
I
topic.
have a serious conversation.
Right,
We keep
yes.
busting jokes.
Talking about what can
I
black
think
men do to heal.
But no, I mean, but it's conversations like this, just having these type of open spaces, like it don't have to always be like professional and sticky. It doesn't be real stiff and everything like that. I used to do like with some type of environmental therapy or play therapy I did. Me and these black dudes, and we used to go to the gym. It used to be our section.
That's huge. This is kind of our therapy, I think, right here.
Yep.
It could be, yeah.
Yeah, because like we get on this podcast to talk about shit that probably in a phone call, in a conversation, on a passing by, you probably would never had the opportunity to talk about. And I think that's important. Like it's almost like barbershop talk, I would say.
Yeah. So like things like this can be therapeutic in a way. It might not be therapy per se, but it can be good for just the soul, just good for the spirit. Like holistic well-being, holistic wellness isn't just like paying attention to just your mental health, going to therapy and talking about, okay, you know, I'm anxious about this, you know, I've been feeling depressed for this amount of time. It's kind of like, well, what do you do for self-care? What do you do outside of this that kind of gives you like that feeling back, you know?
So are you a waves part of your self-care? Because I'm about to say,
he ain't letting these waves go,
take
yo.
care of yourself, like,
yeah, so yeah, waves are part.
I give a haircut every 2 weeks, you know what I mean? Every like 10, 14 days is good for me because I'm like, I know when I don't.
You want to show up in the world great.
When I,
He don't know how to answer that, so you gonna try.
When I don't, I just feel, you know, sometimes you can feel a little bit down about yourself.
Real
or
shit.
something like
Yeah.
that.
That's
So I
like
like
when
to
women
keep
get their hair done, they feel better. It's
I don't know
similar.
how- she tried
It's
to
similar as hair.
It's similar. It's similar-ish.
I got you. Okay, self-care. There we go. Yeah.
Right.
Because people throw out that self-care word a lot, but I don't think people. Sometimes it's not just beauty. Sometimes it's just kind of being away from people,
Exactly.
reading a
Taking
book,
some time.
you know, talking to yourself, like me.
Do not disturb.
Yeah, shit like that.
Watch
You
your
answer
cartoons.
yourself?
He just did.
Well, yeah, he do
You
it.
caught that?
Don't answer
Yeah, he
yourself,
did.
then
He
I got
did.
a question.
Ma's a therapist too.
I don't answer.
You said
myself.
what?
You don't?
You're a therapist
So
too.
you just say a
I just
question
said
and you don't
outside.
answer.
You don't answer yourself?
So who answers it?
Mel, you
It's
don't
just
talk to
one of them.
yourself?
It's a rhetorical
Yeah,
Oh,
question.
no, I want
rhetorical.
answers.
all my talk to myself is rhetorical.
Interesting.
So like, when you talk, you saying like you don't think of a response, nothing like.
No.
See? And, you know, all this time they thought I was great. See, that's what I'm saying. They thought I was the weird one.
Okay,
I
I mean self-talk isn't bad.
I see what
you
you
know?
did there.
Yeah.
I see what
You
you
like
did
that? You gotta talk to these brothers, man. Part of it. They rep your set, so y'all gotta be on the same
Rep
page.
your set.
Yeah, I knew we wasn't gonna go the whole.
You wasn't like that slide,
You wasn't
yo.
gonna let the whole thing go.
But so what do you see, for example, in your work? Like, I'm trying to make sure I give you a broad question because I know we got to be broad.
Why you gotta be broad, yo?
Because I mean, he got alphabets next behind his name. We gotta be careful. What do you? What's the most important thing you want to, like, the mark you want to leave on the therapy world? You know what I mean? Because I feel like every industry you want to make an impression. Like, what do you want to see change because of your work?
I think like my end goal is to change how we present. Just make things like we talk about client-centered therapy or client-centered services is like basically make sure your services is tendered to that person you're working with, not generalizing it, not trying to make it work for everybody that you see, but that person in front of you at the time. So my biggest thing was more about just make sure that everybody is like receiving the right services, make sure we're doing everything appropriate. And it's hard to do because sometimes you work with people who don't have the same type of modality or like they look at things the same way as you, but I guess my thing was just to really just help just make sure everybody's kind of just getting everything they need.
Have you been in a situation where you had to like you're in the middle of a session, you realize like you're not the therapist for them?
What do you mean?
Like, have you been in that situation where you think one of your coworkers can better help this person other than you?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Do you cut it off immediately? Is it like
So the way it works, so like we got like a it's like ethics behind it, right? So you got referral. It's a referral process and everything like that. And so I've definitely worked with clients. So I was like, okay, we're not gonna work good together.
Right.
I worked with a young girl before. I was like, okay, me being your therapist is not helping you get better at all because your concerns is with a man who is a black man, like similar, similar age, similar build.
You were a distraction.
Right. And I was like, the transference there, which is basically where the client is kind of relating a lot of their feelings back onto you from a different experience that they had. I can see it. And I mean, we combat those things, we attack those things in therapy, but you can kind of tell me like, okay, I'm hurting this client more than helping them.
Right.
And so, we do the referral process, and that's happened a few times, definitely. So.
How do you feel about the relationship coaches online and things like that?
that's a great question.
Oh man,
because I feel like they trying to be therapists, but they're not.
I think that everybody plays a role in helping people. You know what I mean?
He's good.
This guy's good.
That is a hell of an answer. Yeah.
That is a real safe answer.
I think that just like me being a therapist, I need to know where my limits are and where my boundaries are. Like, I'm not a psychologist. So I'm not. I mean, I can diagnose.
You don't have to talk about that because I think when you hear therapy, like y'all all get in the same umbrella. So if you get therapy, so for example, a psychotherapist, what exactly are you a psychotherapist? Like, what are you specifically?
So like,
it's so practice psychotherapy.
I practice psychotherapy.
Okay,
and it's like it's interchangeable in a way. It depends on where I'm at in the job I'm in. Mm-hmm. So like, I've been called a counselor, but that was for like very short term, like solution focused type of work I was doing. But when I'm doing therapy, I'm a psychotherapist. I'm a therapist, like your mental health professional. They depend on the topic, depend on the conversation.
So you're a mental health professional. Let's put you there.
Yeah. So I'm a therapist.
I
like to say licensed therapist.
Okay, I don't want to put no disrespect. No disrespect. My bad.
People out there is like, I'm a therapist and they're not licensed.
So technically, I was about to say that because one of my shows, the shows I watched, Married at First Sight, they use pastors a lot of times are interchangeable as therapists and counselors too because of their theology degrees and stuff. They can still be spiritual therapists and give advice, which is sometimes wild.
Spiritual advisors.
There was this girl. She was a doctor. She got her doctorate from a Catholic school, a Catholic college, anything, which is nothing wrong with that because it's still education, still a degree. But she was online presenting herself as a therapist, a licensed therapist.
Right.
And she would give information. Most people that's like really influential. That's why I tell people all the time, be careful of these what they call them, these
life coaches.
Not life coaches, but people who are false
prophets.
False prophets. Yes, I say
okay.
Be careful. These
you got
false
the biblical
prophets.
bag too. Go ahead.
I say be careful because sometimes people will use their education and their skills to build a fan base.
Like Umar.
And from that fan
Dr.
base.
Umar.
Yep.
Really? You think he's using that to build a negative fan
He
base?
has a doctorate. It's not in what he say he got one.
But he's fucking funny as shit.
I mean, he's
what's
hilarious.
Dr. Umar Johnson.
I've been with him a little bit. Like he
got some good shit.
He funny as shit, yeah.
They're right twice a day.
Yeah. But like I was saying, like
she doesn't like.
But the bottom line is they're right. They're not
Twice
always
a day.
They're not always wrong.
You said twice a day.
They're not always wrong though.
Okay.
So,
just gotta
so as a
flip in the malls,
therapist,
see why they be.
so let me ask you a question. It's gonna slide in.
My bag.
It's gonna slide into your game. Like, what would you? What would you?
We the same.
Y'all
nigga.
trying to fight.
Yeah, I'm trying to help you. I'm trying to be in the corner 3. I'm trying to hit the corner 3. Yo. I'm trying.
Go ahead, John, yeah.
Where would you say? How can we work on the discourse from a therapy perspective between specifically black men and black women? Like, how can we work on that discourse? Because there's a lot of traditional values in there. There's a lot of religious values in there. It's a lot of bad bitch values in there.
Bad bitch
Bad bitch, parentheses, nigger values. Because, like, some black men are bad bitches, too. I don't know. Come on.
Yeah, I knew you were trying to say that without saying anything.
Bad bitch John.
But so like, how can we work on those disparities? Like, because I feel as though one thing is the black family. I think is very important, whether it be a traditional family or non-traditional family. But I think it's so much divisiveness. So like, nation building becomes tough when there's so much divisiveness.
It's so interesting because there's some people who still believe in like the traditional gender roles, which is nothing wrong with that. If you have a healthy relationship, you're like, well, I want to be the provider, and she wants you to be the provider. That's amazing. That's your relationship. You know what I mean? But then we have couples or people who try to force that upon their partner, and we're like, well, you can't really do that. I mean, how does that help the situation, right? So you got people that's like, I want to be a provider. Like, let's say I'm a man, I want to be a provider.
Yeah.
And I have an independent woman who might make more money than me. I mean, me personally, I don't care about that. Like, that's cool.
I don't think you should. But
You said, but for me personally, I was like, I don't really care about that. I mean, there's people who really do. It bothers them. It creates issues in a relationship. And that's men itself having maybe like a power issue or things like that. So that could be.
that's exactly what it is, right?
Yeah, it could be that. It could be a lot of different things that's going on. But I mean, that's just a concern in itself. And then we have women who expect men to be.
Go ahead, say it.
Who want them to be the provider for everything. You know?
Oh, I thought you were about to say some more gaslighting. Go ahead.
Nah. But like I mean, there's women out there who expect a man to care for everything in their lifestyle, which again isn't wrong if that's what you look for and you find someone who wants to do that. But if you meet a man who that's not how he was raised, or that's not what he's into, y'all need to have that conversation about that. I mean, maybe y'all not supposed to be working out like that. I mean, maybe there's something you gotta check for yourself, or he gotta check for himself. Maybe it just depends on the relationship, really.
Yeah, you gotta find somebody that believes
That's y'all. Yeah.
This is
rolls the same way that you do.
what he's doing is why I found my first therapist, because they keep asking me questions. I used to get so frustrated. I'm like, bro, you gotta stop asking me questions.
What?
But how do they find out about you?
So like,
No, after you exhaust asking me questions, therapize me. Like, give me some.
Therapist.
And that's why I found out. And as my second stint in therapy,
He probably found you. You said that shit.
right. My second stint in therapy, what I found out is not 100% about. It's not him giving you answers. It's him kind of digging into your psyche, and you answering the questions. I feel like all the answers and the recipe to life is inside of all of us. So like, sometimes we seek outside of ourselves, but therapy is really kind of dig more inside. It's not outside at all. And I think that's the misconception.
Yeah, we talk about environmental factors because we have to realize with mental health, it's a combination of nature and nurture. You know what I mean? It's not nature versus nurture anymore because your environmental factors and your genetic features create who you are. You know,
Your environment, and that's what my therapist told me. He said some of these things we talking about are innate, and you're gonna have to overcome them regardless. So it's like he was giving me the perspective like, what do you want? And that's what he kept asking, like, so what do you want though? What do you want?
Yeah, because in therapy, I have a client who I would say his goal isn't probably the most appropriate goal, honestly, but if it's going to help him get to a more positive end result, then I'm gonna work with him and I'm gonna help him see how what he's looking for right now is maybe not the most realistic thing.
Right.
You're trying to get
But-
women. I'm just saying, like that's.
He has
That's what it sounds like.
There's certain things I want to ask him, but I know I can't
mean,
ask
if he
him.
can't answer, he'll just
He has
tell us he can't
unrealistic
answer.
relationship concerns, yes, but
Okay.
in a way, it's like you said, your therapist was saying, the therapy is built around your goals and your treatment. That's how therapy should be. That's not how it's always been. But that's how like we try to create therapy now these days. You know what I mean? Like we want to make sure it's client centered.
I got you. So what would you, specifically speaking around childhood trauma from a therapy perspective, and within black men, black women, whatever. So like childhood trauma, like what are the tools you'll what can people do to equip themselves to deal with that?
So, what can parents do to deal with their childhood trauma?
Both, all of it. Like parents and like grown folks as individuals.
Family members, everything.
That's what I'm saying. It is a loaded question.
So it's like
let's start with what childhood trauma is. Let's start there.
Trauma. Okay, so childhood trauma, and since just breaking down a word, it's trauma that you probably experienced when you were younger. You know what I mean? Youth that you probably have unconsciously regressed or suppressed in your mind, and you kind of push back, and you ain't really talk about a lot, or you haven't worked through. So now, as an adult, you're realizing how much it affects your behavior and your actions and the way you think, and you kind of come across a lot of cognitive distortions as an adult. So that's like when you start like the all or nothing thinking, like, or the generalizations and stuff like that. So like with dealing with childhood trauma, it's an experience. I mean, as a therapist perspective, from my point of view, I do a lot of play therapy, or I do a lot of because I work with the kids who are dealing with childhood trauma at the moment. So with them, I do a lot of play therapy.
Can I cut you off? You keep saying play therapy. What is that?
So like it can come out in different ways. So it's like so this is one person I used to study. He did this play therapy where he took about young men to the basketball courts.
Okay.
And from using them as teams and playing basketball, he taught them discipline.
Oh, okay, got you.
I mean?
Okay, that's what
play
you mean.
Therapy with kids. You got these little these blocks, like Jenga blocks.
Yeah.
And they're different colors. And when a kid pulls out one, there's a color or a card to go with it. So the conversation might be like, well, what are you scared of the most? You know? It could be something like, well, I'm scared of spiders. Okay. Pull another block. Okay. What do you do when you find yourself getting angry? And the kid's like, well, I might throw things, I might cuss and yell, I might fight, things like that. Like, to answer your question about childhood trauma, dealing with that within the family, sometimes it's hard because you might do family therapy. Some of us can't have those conversations, especially if you might be the root cause of some of that childhood trauma. Like, as a parent, how do you feel being told that, like, hey, your son's experience, did something happen at this age, or your son experienced this type of effect, and this is what has led to him doing this now. This is the root cause. This is what comes from what he experienced. This is why he acts out this way, or this is why he opposes authority, or things like that. This is why he has so much anxiety or attachment disorders, because, you know, you as a parent, you won't say it like that. I'm not going to.
No, I say you ain't gonna say you ain't shit. But
yeah, but like
in a professional,
professionally,
some of the choices you made may have led the choice.
May have led to.
He might be in jail because of you.
Not might be in jail.
That should remind me of a tweet that I seen like a month ago. A dude reached out to his ex-girlfriend to come to family therapy.
Oh, I saw that.
And the reason he wanted her to come to family therapy was they were in a relationship. He cheated on her. She ended up confiding in his dad, sleeping with his dad. His dad financed everything she did, like school, her business, everything. And even while they were supposed to be working it out, she was still like sleeping with the dad.
Father, yeah.
And now, like, the dad and the son has like this like irreparable like relationship. And they wanted her to come. She's like, nah, ain't my problem no more.
Wow.
I did want to say something like that, because I would say, because I've had some tough conversations with my parents, right? So they're older in their 50s right now. And it is hard. Like, those generations, their mindset in terms of trauma, childhood trauma.
Setting their ways for real.
Yeah. And that's why, like, one thing about our generation, I appreciate our openness or willingness to try, at least, right? So I don't think we're going to be perfect. Yeah. But it's just like, we're going to consider this shit. Like, he's like, all right, cool. I'm going to just think about it. Like, I'm about to be a father. Like, certain stuff, I know I'm gonna fuck my kid up in some ways.
It's no longer a one-way street.
Yeah. So it's just like, when that comes back to me, I think the biggest thing we gotta do going forward as our generation is just like, all right, cool, accept it, apologize, because that's the one thing.
That's the biggest thing about
remorse,
our parents. They don't apologize.
What's that big word for it?
Parental remorse.
Yeah. So we need a lot of that shit. I'm about to say, because that's uncommon, especially within the black community. Like my parents, even if we talked about childhood, things that happen and all that kind of stuff, it's never a straight up, I'm sorry, I'm accountable.
You'll never get that.
You'll never get it.
I don't, because they were in a different time, yo. So I think it comes with us. I think we have to realize that they were in a different time, and we got to accept it. And I think that's why where out there becomes.
But isn't that a cop?
I think it's a little bit of both. Like, we can realize that they were in a different time and also communicate the damage that they did. So both can be true. Like, yes, I know that back in your day, this was not normal, but I'm letting you know the impact that doing this had on me, just so that you're aware.
Yeah, I understand that, but why do they gotta apologize for something that's all they knew?
So,
you know what I'm saying? That's kind of where I'm at, and that's why I wouldn't hold it. And me personally, I don't. hold it.
I don't think it's more so the actual apology. It's more so acknowledging the wrongdoing or the harm caused,
and making sure that they don't do it to the next generation. Because they could do the same thing to your kids, and then just continue the generational pattern.
That's one of the biggest issues we have.
That's
now.
fair.
What do you say, Doc?
Right, we talking.
No, what I'm saying, but I mean, he made a good point. Like, sometimes the apology, it's not even searching for an apology. You know what I mean? It's just having that conversation. Like, all right, let's say I have a kid and I want my mother.
Get a little close to the mic. I want to make sure people get you.
Let's say I have a kid and I want my mother to watch my kid, but I know she has these things about her that this is the way she raised me. So this conversation, just say, hey, you know, if I see something, I want to speak out about it. I'm just gonna be like, hey, you know, I've noticed that.
No beatings.
I
eat no beatings.
No.
I mean, that is what it is for some people. If you don't want to beat your kids and you know your mama beat you,
I think that's
I'm not letting you watch my kids and beat them. If I'm saying that's not what I
It's conversation for real. Yeah, it's just
definitely.
But conversation, you say that, doctor.
Nah, doctor. I wish.
Nobody never mad about going up. Everybody mad about going down. If I called you like what's the it's a therapist, a counselor. What's the one?
Derek Jackson.
Life coach.
Life coach. That y'all shit on them.
No, he would be offended though. He don't want to be called.
I can call you that.
He said everybody does their part.
But like those conversations, the hardest conversation I've ever had, I think, were with probably my parents. Even harder than with my spouse, because it's just like when you're looking at your parent, it's like
all y'all views and values gotta mesh now.
Yeah, that's some hard shit. Like I think people
you gotta find a medium.
Right. I don't care how grown you is. Like you could be a 60-year-old man talking to your 80-year-old dad. You'll break down and cry based off of some of the shit that you have to kind of unpack. And also, one thing my dad, we had a conversation. One thing he said that was accountable. He said a lot of the things I did and me and mom did were literally out of survival. And sometimes when they say that shit, you like,
Well, that's kind of where I'm at, right? I do understand your point. Like, acknowledge it so they know where it is. So when you have a child, it's like they're not doing the same thing.
Yeah.
But why are we looking for an apology? What is that apology going to do to us?
It's closure. In my mind, it can be closure.
I don't think they said about. Like you said, he was trying to survive back then.
For me,
so the shit he was doing, in his mind, he was making sure that you had clothes on your back, food on your table, shelter over your head, and he did it.
Yeah,
he did it.
I get it. I get both sides.
It's more acknowledgement that those three things weren't enough.
I think in this regard, I think in this regard, when it comes to parents and we're looking searching for that that apology has changed behavior. How you treat my child, your grandchild.
We on the same page.
And changing
I don't think the apology does anything though.
It's not. It's the behavior.
I think acknowledging is, but
you acknowledge it and you acknowledge it by changing. If you like, for example,
the same thing.
For example,
I'm a little tricky. Says that. My wife said that shit.
What?
I think everybody needs something different.
Change behavior.
Change behavior.
You're like, all right, come on. You don't gotta keep saying that shit.
Some people need to change behavior.
Yeah, it is.
Some people need the apology. Some people just need acknowledgement.
And some people don't even need it at all. Like I have a client who writes letters.
Yeah.
But he doesn't read it to him. He doesn't give it to him. But he says, I want to write this letter because he wants to take responsibility for a second, he believed that his childhood trauma was his fault.
Damn. That's fucked up.
He had to write. I said, you should try to write letters to these people so you can express how you feel. And then we went from there. We processed it. And he was able to actually eventually had a conversation with his mother. Now, his mother, has some other things going on because she's at an older age now. And of course, you got a conversation with her, but it isn't like it's going to change. But it's like
you gotta be sensitive to what she is in life, right?
Just get off your chest. Yeah.
I just never want it to be too late in terms of anybody I love, right? So I never want it to be a day where as though they never know how I felt. Like I seen like in movies and I've seen in real life where people die, but it's like some deep heartfelt shit.
Regret.
Yeah, I want because that shit I feel as though that haunts you forever. So I never want to really kind of be there. But anyway. But yeah, you can talk about that all day. I think that's a subject matter that a lot of us relate to.
I think even now we gonna make mistakes as parents whenever we get to the point.
Every day.
I'm trying to anticipate my fuck up, but I already know I'm going to.
You can't anticipate all.
Don't anticipate it.
I think all you gotta
go. We got different issues now.
All you can try to do is
you gotta go with the flow,
and learn from with your trauma and be better. But know that you may still make mistakes and be willing to acknowledge those mistakes. Hear your children and apologize for it.
Yeah.
So let's I want to change this, and then we want to get into the game. So one thing I wanted to talk about. So
The game.
The game.
Oh, I said gang. Yeah, because you point. I seen
my window is past. I'm not doing alumni chapter.
Okay,
it's okay.
Chapter.
as black men, like we say, we need to talk more and being vulnerable and vulnerability. So, why is vulnerability so important amongst black men?
Oh man, I mean, just for what we were talking about all the time, what it leads to, just to express into other generations. Because if we continue to not be vulnerable and not express ourselves or talk about the things that have led us to who we are and what we've dealt with, our traumas, then our generation following is going to experience the same thing.
Correct.
It's really that. And then, I mean, dealing with our partners or the people that we are close to, our friends, our family, we can have better, more appropriate, positive relationships with them if we just open up a little more.
Right.
You know?
That's true. Because I'm about to say, I consider, and it's funny, you consider yourself open until you get to points where you're uncomfortable.
Right.
So, for example, especially, you know, I've had some tough conversations with some like friends I know and stuff like that about stuff that probably I would have never talked about if like you're not more educated about. You shouldn't just like harbor feelings against people, because I naturally I think I suppress until I explode.
Right.
So I had to learn through like therapy and stuff, like it's better out than in. And even if it does hurt somebody, because I will suppress my feelings just so that somebody else won't get hurt. And I didn't even know that was toxic.
Yeah, like as men, as men, like when we hold these things in, that leads to like aggression, isolation, depression. Like these are things that really come about when we don't talk about these issues. Because like you said, we're holding it in, we feel the building in our chest. And then when we finally get that tick, it's like we explode. Yeah. And then what? Not a person we explode on who probably didn't even deserve it in the first place.
And to add to that, as black men, we really can't afford to explode. Because our explosion
angry black men
leads us to typically prison, a lot of different traumatizing things, getting killed. So like you do have to mind your temperament. Like you gotta be careful about your feelings, but not suppress them to the point where like our forefathers would just say nothing. You know,
you gotta find your safe space.
Yeah,
I'll say non-suppression is tough though, especially.
It's every day. It's an everyday choice not to suppress, especially in a relationship. We're gonna get to that later.
I'm about to say that. I mean, that's where I need help with, and that's why I said I've been looking.
But what happens is, and it's funny, being in a relationship long as I have, we've been through a lot of ups and downs. Like we even got to the point we could.
That's a relation. That's the definition of a relationship.
Yeah, ups and downs, literally ups and downs.
Yeah.
To the point where she said, I don't want you to ever not say nothing because it's gonna make me mad. I'd rather you make me mad and be honest with me, so we can be mad together, or like we can have our discourse, but just don't withhold it, because that withholding, that resentment is a bitch.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Because resentment creeps back on you when you like 70 years old, and you like, oh no, I'm good, and it just jump on your back. Or resentment is when somebody trying to jump in the casket with somebody, and you like, oh shit, I didn't even realize that I didn't even deal with all this stuff in front of me. But it is suppression is something I know I daily fight. Because
so is it one way? No, I know it's not one way. Like it's not one size fit all. But is there something you gotta go to? You tell black men, or I'm saying specifically black men because we all black men in here. Plus our black queen over here.
Okay.
like hi yellow queen.
Is it one thing you tell gentlemen to do to make it easier on themselves? Is that question make sense?
I see you're asking like,
it's hard. I mean, I don't
way to kind of help men like not suppress this
yeah,
in a way.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, it depends. It's you got to be comfortable with yourself first. You know. So
that's the start.
yeah, no, but you
that's
have
a big
to.
that's a big
See,
first
shit like
step.
that fuck you all up.
Yeah, it did.
Okay, so I'm insecure.
I know. It's back to me.
I didn't tell you it was insecure though.
I know you did. You're a therapist. You good at what you do.
I got you.
You like, I'm never gonna say it's you, but you might want to consider
That first step, man. Look in the mirror.
What is the common denominator?
Yeah.
That's funny because I said this to somebody the other day.
What's the common denominator?
And he's like, he made a joke. He said them. He's like, no.
But
we have that rapport that I can say that, you know, like that. So like I wouldn't.
But I want to dig into that though, because I'm about to say suppression is just an easier option.
It is.
Like a lot of times you just like, I'd rather not the fuss. I'd rather not the hassle. I'd rather not the stress, so to speak. What you consider stress.
Pick and choose, yo.
But that can be problematic.
But that's what pick and choosing is our issue.
We
We shouldn't have to pick and choose. We just say it sometimes.
It's easier to not do something. Like how many accomplishments have you made that you had to work hard for and that you're proud of to this day? You know? So it's easy to be like, oh, I don't want to do it. Like, don't do it.
Yeah.
But then don't expect change, right?
Right.
So
Or progress.
See, that's that therapy.
You see?
I know.
You see how you get mad in therapy?
Yeah.
See, before I was
Am I in
involved.
therapy now?
See? Yeah, you is. Because he's good. I'm about to say, you about to give us billable hours and shit.
I know.
I wish.
He said, I could have got all this money.
Do you work better with women or men versus?
Come on, man.
I don't even know if it's work better.
I'm sorry, yo. I just got questions, yo.
But look at it. Come on.
Well, he don't dress like that for his session.
I do.
Oh, you do?
You do?
Not shorts.
It's being
I was about
comfortable.
I was about to say.
It's being
Oh.
comfortable.
When I became a therapist, I always say I want to come authentic. Like I
Okay.
like
Come
wearing
as your
suits
natural
and stuff
self.
every once in a while, but this is not. That's not what I was used to. That's not what I was around all the time. I'm used to wearing nice. I wear nice shirts. I wear jeans. You know what I mean? I wear some tennis shoes.
Jeans.
Yeah, I might have sometimes throw on some slacks, but I feel like when somebody sees when I turn on my camera or I meet them in person, they see like okay,
He's
it's
dressed
cool.
down.
It's like he look like somebody I might know on the street. I might know somebody around the block. Something. It kind of helps with like I hope it helps with comfortability. Like
I get that.
so.
Okay.
Before we get to the game, I wanted one thing I saw on your Instagram page, which very well curated page, by the way, is you talked about one thing I want to talk about is boundaries. So you saying how do black men set boundaries?
What boundaries, nigga?
That's what I need to work on.
You know what? It's funny. I think for my clients, I've seen men, and I know like we keep talking about black men because we're all black men, but I work with a lot of different cultures.
No,
So,
good.
like,
Do your thing.
But now I've seen it's so funny because I've seen men set boundaries, and easier than some of my women clients, but in different ways, and sometimes it's not in a healthy way. So like with men, I've seen them set boundaries by just ignoring, just stepping back and doing that. And I'm like,
That's suppression.
and I was like, you're isolating yourself from your friend, and once they do it, they get comfortable, right? It's easier for them. It's like, okay, well, I've already been doing this. Why should I stop? Well,
But
we're sitting
It's
here in
better to
therapy.
so
communicate.
on the flip side, I know one of the main boundaries you always see like on social media, like women tweet about, is cutting people off.
Right.
Isn't that the same thing as ignoring?
It depends how you do it.
Right. Well, you can cut someone off with
Shout out
a
you.
conversation.
I've had women discuss with me say, hey, I think that this isn't going the way I want it. I think that we're better off,
I think
not
we're
doing
getting
each
to the
other.
game,
I'm-
guys.
I can't
I'm about to
get
say,
mad at that.
'cause, like literally in a relationship, in any argument, a guy can never end the argument. Like, you know what? I don't feel like talking right now. She like, no, we finish this right now.
So-
the minute she says,
yeah.
hey, I'm done, you cannot come back there.
But see, that's not fair.
It's not fair.
It's not fair for
but
both
it's a
parties,
double
yeah.
standard in
So
the world.
right. So that I'm saying,
Fair.
in those moments when it's not fair,
Right.
it's on a person to speak up about it not being fair.
You know what? You sound like a woman. 'Cause they-
I mean,
yeah.
that's what I am.
'Cause they always say it's not fair, and then you try to bring up fairness from your vantage point,
on your behalf.
and that fairness.
Our fair is
Yeah.
not their fair.
It's not. Yeah, it's not the same fight.
Well, I know, but me speaking for the woman that I am, I know if a man told me, what you just said, that's not fair to me, I would listen. Especially if it's my partner. It's like, okay, I would take a second and listen and understand what they saying might be true. But that's just me.
That's you as a mature woman. Yeah.
Okay.
A lot of these women ain't
But
mature out
but a
here.
lot of people don't, experience that. Like, because you're thinking, in the heat of the moment, are we really trying to think about
No,
what
no.
the other person
No.
cares about?
It's about-
I
it's
am,
all about
but I
self.
don't like arguing, so I'm
Yeah.
like, let's get to the root of this quickly.
Yeah.
Like,
That's what
That
I
is
work
maturity,
on.
I would say, because
Yeah.
I would say
it takes a lot of practice, and it doesn't happen over time. It's about learned behaviors.
Right.
So if we're constantly see our parents arguing, we constantly see somebody shutting one person out or not getting their point across. I mean,
we think
that's how we learn to talk.
We think that's a healthy way of relationships. Actually, is very unhealthy. Like arguing sometimes arguing. I think is very healthy for a relationship.
It's how you argue.
But it's how you argue.
Right.
Like if you're not letting the other person talk, and if you come into it not to listen, I had to learn to argue because I'm not a good arguer. I don't like to argue. I like to state my point and
you
walk away.
let us down as a Virgo, yeah.
I don't like to argue because I'm a lover, man. But
You're a liar.
I hold my face on camera, yo. Shit crazy.
but no, I don't like to argue. But I think arguing is important.
You
though.
do like to argue.
You like to
yeah?
debate.
I like to argue in certain
See,
situations.
the thing is, he don't like to argue. He likes to debate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You
That's the same-
to debate.
it's
That can
essentially
be
the
the
same
same thing.
It's essentially the same
depending on
thing.
what it is.
But I think
how,
people.
how do you debate? Like, how,
So what happens is, I will. Okay. When I talk strongly,
Talk about Joe Buddy.
When I talk
When you
strong,
talk strongly.
I think some people consider it as I'm. Okay, so if we argue in a point, we say something like pro-life or something. Because I give you a good argument on my side, that does not mean I don't agree with your side. I think people always get the misconception is that, okay, if I feel strongly here, I don't
totally disagree with you.
I don't totally disagree. Sometimes I actually agree with you more than I agree with myself.
I'm still making my point, though.
But I'm still making my point. And people just be like, so why would you say all of that if you agree with me anyway?
I was just about to ask that.
You're just arguing for fun.
It's for dialogue.
Yeah, you
like
fun.
You're enjoying the
It's to
conversation.
provoke thought.
Okay.
So, for example, I like to provoke people's thought. So, for example, if you're not provoking people, if you're talking or you interacting with somebody, you're not provoking thought. Why are we talking?
You're gonna provoke the wrong.
I don't want to.
You can provoke thought without like beating your point into them.
What do you mean by beat my point into people?
Like you said, you'll
think I get
hone in
a lot
on.
of
You'll keep saying why you think your side is right, even though you think you agree with the other side. Why? You can debate it and still say you don't say the pros on the other
this
side.
This could be toxic.
You don't tell them they have pros on the other side. So you only talk about your pros on your side.
So do you tell them they're making good points during the conversation, or do you just?
No, he don't.
Never.
Exactly.
Nah, not at all.
My point exactly.
So he just likes to debate.
He's stubborn.
Yeah, I do like to. Yeah, I'm very stubborn. I'm very stubborn to the point where it's a detriment. But like I like to. What people are willing to stand up for tell me a lot about them. Or what they're willing to not fight for tells me a lot about them too. So like that's where I get it, because it tells me more about who you are as a person. Because if I know who you are as a person, I can take that and it's transferable in a lot of different situations. But what you're willing to fight for and what you're willing to not fight for, or what you just kind of concede on, says more about you than whatever the topic is. I think people get hung up on the topic. No, it's really your ability to fight.
Okay. What if you're just not good at debate or argument?
Some people be a bad fighter but have a heart.
Right.
Like Rocky and shit.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay.
Like I can't argue because I don't articulate points well enough. So you would take me as like not getting a point across and just kind of walk all over it when I'm kind of falling back because I don't know how to articulate my point.
Well, that's where compassion comes on my end.
That's why I like to
type out
stuff, because I can like think it through.
I do. I like that too. I got to be able to think stuff through.
Hold on, no, what happens is, see, you guys see me in a setting of debate, like this whole podcast.
I've seen you outside of here, yo.
I'm compassionate. I don't talk much.
Debate in and out.
You never really been in like day in and day out. Sherelle even say like you don't talk. Like I don't talk a ton. I don't run my mouth that much.
Oh, you don't pod outside the pod?
Nah, because I also know I know who I'm talking to. So for example, Sherelle's great at arguing and debating, my wife. So like I know better. So there's certain people I know when to shut up. I'm always known to shut up, but when I get a podcast,
again, so
it's not time to shut up.
You pick and choose who you want to debate.
Right.
At certain times, like certain points, like I would never debate. So for example, in mixed company, I'm not debating certain people. Like I wouldn't talk to me. The way I talk to y'all now is like if it's somebody we don't know, like I'm not gonna say certain things because it's like I don't know that person.
So that's why you didn't sit at the debate table at Juneteenth?
Right. I don't like debating. I don't like
a whole debate. The whole.
I don't like ignorance.
Yeah,
either.
They was part of the Juneteenth cookout.
The whole
John
time.
wasn't in.
No, he's at a different table.
Palmer was sitting at my table. So
I'm saying
John
was on IR, so he was tending to his boo.
Yeah, but I mean,
which one?
Both.
Sherelle or Paul?
Oh my gosh.
All the above.
So
It was all inclusive.
let's I want to get into the game. This is a good time.
Yep.
I'm trying to figure out if we missed any questions on the outline. Yeah, we missed all of those questions.
They were just there, but we already knew that.
Let me tell y'all about something about the outlines. Everybody listen. Let me tell y'all about these niggas with these outlines. I'm sorry. Can I keep saying the N-word? I don't want to mess up your licensure.
Wait, you put me in this?
He said these niggas.
So we
all niggas.
Yo.
Wow, because I thought my alarms be.
I mean, you be having all you do is just put the link in there.
Nah, I had a whole discussion point, and then I had notes. I had notes after my discussion points.
It's all right though.
All mine is notes.
You know what? This is something I was working. Doc, you appreciate this. This is something I was working through in therapy. Whereas though, and Sid even told me. Sid said something compelling to me months ago, and she never thought. She said you can't expect people to put the same amount of effort. Also, you can't put your expectations on other people, and when they don't do what you do, you consider it a failure. So I'm working on that because I think a lot of times I do that, and who knows what I'm saying might be ain't shit. So what happened is that's why I try to be more compassionate. In 2021, I've been a lot more compassionate.
I like you keep throwing on compassion.
Yeah, hey,
That's the main thing he
Yo,
works.
Chad.
John throwing out this compassion word is like the nigga throwing out wholesome in 2019.
I was like, what you saying?
Hold on, but I'm a lot more.
You want me to believe he's compassionate?
He don't believe
From
it.
the time this pet pod started till now, I have definitely grown in terms of more. I'm more apathetic. I'm more empathetic. I'm more. I listen better because
all of y'all have grown because of the podcast.
Right, because it's different personalities. What happened is I only put myself in situations to succeed. Usually, put myself in a situation where I don't know people. I usually don't do that in everyday life. I try to make myself. You usually put yourself in situations you know you'll succeed. You don't usually put yourself in uncomfortable
When only
situations.
Huh? When only situations?
Say that. Explain that.
When only
Oh
situations?
yeah. You usually put yourself in. Yeah, we all do that naturally. Put ourselves in when only
I
situations.
don't think everybody does that.
Yeah. You don't take on challenges. You like,
I
take on
think some
challenges
people like
in certain aspects, like to go into a group of people that, like for example, when we started this pod, I only knew Mel like 100%. I didn't know Maul to the degree. I only knew him because he's bald, big body. Like he used to give me hard daps and shit, and like, and then Palmer, he was always just a nigga that was at Melvin House, and then and I didn't know he talked so much.
I didn't know he talked.
See, you didn't even.
No, most people didn't.
No, you didn't. Nobody did. So I was just like, oh, okay, these guys have a voice. Like Palmer talks, like he has opinions. He's very opinionated. He loves gentrification, shit like that. So like,
Hey, you know him and Mel was in the same house.
yeah, and I was.
Wait.
He said, hold on, how did I get into
Y'all
this?
keep lumping me into
But like,
everything.
as I got to know them, I was just like, oh, okay, this is what I'm up against. But no, these are good guys though. I like them a lot, man. They're very sensible men. They're
First
very.
time you ever said that.
It's very. It's a very.
It's the first compliment John's ever given this.
Yes.
Oh, it is.
Wow.
He knows
3 years later.
Yeah, I think it's part of the compassionate.
But no, I think
It
it's.
took a therapist to get on here to say
Look
that.
at that.
We're in therapy.
Wow.
Is this part of the compassionate agenda?
Yo.
But no, but real talk. I think we're not a monolith. I think a lot of times in my egotistical, narcissistic brain,
Get those pants.
I sometimes think everybody should be like me, and that's not 100% true. The truth. So.
I hope everybody got that joke.
Right.